having like the courage and being willing to do a little bit of dirty work to start digging for opportunity. And then all of a sudden, I think it's seeing people like have an aha, being able to share from my skill, my knowledge, my experience, and impart that to someone else and seeing the light bulb go off in their head. That is what fills me up. And so I would say in general with technology, I tend to be a late adopter. Like for me, I am generally like change averse and risk averse. And I overthink things. And it's only after like seeing most people implement it. It's a tool. It's like any technology, it is a tool. So how we use it and how we think about it makes all the difference in the world.
Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I am joined by Kevin Banks. He is a Nashville-based entrepreneur, real estate consultant, and self-described as a working genius evangelist. Originally from Northern California, Kevin grew up on a fruit farm and moved to Nashville in 2007, where he and his twin brother co-founded 9 Fruits, a smoothie shop named after the fruits of the Spirit from Galatians 5. His career has spanned hospitality, tech sales, family photography, residential real estate with the Helton Real Estate Group. About 4 years ago, a team consultant introduced Kevin to Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius framework, and he was hooked. He read the book, binged every podcast episode, started sharing the model with anyone who'd listen. That passion has grown organically into speaking opportunities, where we met at this painting conference in Orlando a few months ago, and consulting with other businesses. Today, Kevin joins us to unpack and understand how your God-given working genius can change the way you lead, build teams, and find fulfillment in your work. So, Kevin, I'm excited about this. We bonded over this at one of the socials because I'm a huge Working Genius fan. I'm a wonder and invention. For any listeners out there that know your Working Genius type, I'm excited. Thank you, and tell us what you are, Kevin, and then give us a little intro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Super happy to be here. And it took me a couple of months too to get settled after the conference, but anyways, happy to be here. My geniuses are wonder and tenacity. So I have the two opposite ends of the spectrum covered. So love to think and dream big and head in the clouds. And then I also just love like getting things done and getting things across the finish line.
That seems like I was told that the wonder invention is uncommon, but the wonder and tenacity seems like more rare than that.
I've hardly met anybody with the some would say it's a curse actually. And if you listen to one of the podcast episodes where they describe all the different types, Patrick Lencioni always chuckles and says, these people are very angsty people. You know, they have a lot of angst between the different, and I feel that for sure. Sometimes I feel like, I'm in two worlds, but that's what God gave me is what I'm working with.
Yeah. Take me back to when 4 years ago, this consultant introduced this to you. What was the framework specifically that grabbed you more than anything? Or was it the framework or was it something else that you were like, ooh, I really resonate with this?
There was a couple of things. What I really like about it is that it's geared towards teams of people collaborating and working together. I think there's lots of different personality profiles out there that can help you understand people's communication style and their personalities, and maybe even like the types of work that they like to do, but none of them bring it all together and help teams of people specifically like plug and play together. And that actually is represented in the visual of the working geniuses that spell out the word widget. They're all gears that are all connected to each other. And I think that's a great representation of how when people come together and everybody contributes in their area of genius, the whole team can be a well-oiled machine. That's what really struck me about it and it's also a linear process. I'm a pretty linear thinker and structured thinker. And I like that it's not super abstract, say like Myers-Briggs or the Strengths Finder. I like those tools, but I find them to be sort of abstract. Whereas the Working Genius just immediately made sense how teams of people could use it to, enjoy their work more and work better together.
Have you, met Patrick Lencioni or gone to any of their, I'm assuming they have trainings or something for this, or is it all online courses?
I haven't met Patrick, although I think that'd be cool. But I feel like I know him because I've listened to like almost every podcast episode, as you said. They do have a certification class that you can take. It's like a 2-day 2-day long thing, and it's a pretty significant expense. I've considered doing it, but the consultant that met with us and shared it with our team, he got certified, and so he gave me all the collateral that he got from the certification. And when he heard that I had read the book, listened to all the podcast episodes, and already started sharing it with team, he was like, "Bro, you've got everything you need. You don't need to take certification."
Yeah.
So I've just done it very organically.
Yeah, it was about 9 years ago. I had this I don't remember where I heard this, but there was an activity that someone gave me of list the 10 people that you're going to meet in the next 10 years. Um, that just like if the dreams that you have for your life all come true, who are the 10 people that you would meet along the way? And Patrick Lencioni was one of those people. Still haven't met him. There in fact, most of the people that are on my list, they're like it was people like him because I read Working or The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and, another book that I'm spacing on, but I just like his philosophy and stuff, and just like using I mean, honestly, it's like the best leader that has ever walked the earth, Jesus as the example in most of the stuff that he does and tries to break it down. I love his stuff. And so when I heard the working genius thing, I can't it probably was about 4 years ago or so, because it's only been out for
It's when he
about
created
5 or 6 years,
it.
maybe, right?
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
when the book was written and when they first launched the concept.
Yeah. Um, awesome. So when you like how did this like so obviously you heard it, it resonated, you're like, "This is great." Can you give me, like, a tangible, like, before and after, the impact on your specific team that encountered this?
For sure. And I wanted to mention too, one other thing that really resonated with me is it gave me language. And this is what it does for teams too. When I share this with teams, it gives them language to understand maybe some things they already knew about themselves. Like I always knew I was really good at like thinking high level and then really good at like getting like remedial tasks done. But I always struggled with everything in between and I never really knew how to communicate that. That was the other big thing for me. It was like, oh, well, that's because for whatever reason, God saw fit to give me like the polar opposite ends of the spectrum. But it gives me language to communicate, to understand it myself, and then communicate it to my teammates and people that I collaborate with to go like, hey, in fact, we have this running joke with one of the guys on our team. He has the discernment genius, which is my biggest frustration. And I'll just call him and say, Sam, can I lean on your discernment right now? Like, can you help me discern something? And it's just like being able to cut like a knife through butter to go, this is where I'm stuck. I know someone who has this gifting that I don't. I don't have to spin my wheels for weeks or months getting stuck, which is a hallmark of the Wonder tenacity. They call us a careful implementer is the term. And I get AKA overthinker, overanalyzer. And so just having that language, that was another key piece for me. So all that to say, learning the language, being able to understand, hey, where am I strong? Where am I weak? How can I leverage other team members who would gladly give me their strengths in areas that I'm weak? I mean, I think as a team, it just gave us like deeper insight into what each person was really wired to do well. And I see that when I teach teams of people, this concept is people oftentimes they reorganize like roles and responsibilities within the team. Usually you don't end up firing anybody because hopefully you have good high character people on the team, but they very often will reorganize people's roles and tasks and delegate within the team so that each person can end up enjoying their work a lot more and having less like frustration and less guilt and around like, why am I not good at this? It's like, because you're not good at it. Move on and let somebody else do it. So I think we saw that with our team for sure.
I'm actually thinking, okay, we're almost 10 minutes in. What would be like, obviously, someone clicked on the title, Working Genius already. But
Mhm.
if you have never heard of this, you mentioned a little bit that it's kind of like personality assessments, but he actually says specifically it is not a personality assessment, like you said.
Right.
It's more of how teams work together. So just give like a cursory overview of the widget framework and how, because if I'm not mistaken, everybody gets two working geniuses and two working frustrations
That's right.
but explain, like, what is the widget and how does a typical project flow?
That's right. So there's the working genius identified that there's 6 basic types of work, beginning with wonder, sort of high level, like asking big picture questions, and then proceeding almost like the elevation of a plane, going further and further towards ground level implementation, tenacity being people with that ability to take a project across the finish line. So the 6 geniuses are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And they work in that kind of linear flow, right? If you're going to carry out a project or an initiative or a new product line, you're going to probably, if you're going to do it well, you're going to start by asking, like, what are we missing? Like, how could this be better? What would it take to be the to revolutionize this industry or this product? So you're asking those really high level questions. Invention is the genius of coming up with actual novel ideas. Well, we could try this, and this. Discernment is the ability to quickly pick out one or two ideas as the best, most plausible ideas without needing a lot of time and a lot of data to reach that. It's kind of a gut level intuition. Galvanizing is the most outwardly obvious genius. It's people that just get really excited. I'm going to guess, well, I guess that's not one of yours, but you seem like very energetic, very enthusiastic. That's got to be a competency for you. But it's the people that just are like grabbing the bullhorn and just like, let's go, we're going and we're going to do this. And they get people excited. Enablement is the genius of really coming alongside and supporting other people on the team, rolling up your sleeves and just saying, hey, I'm willing to jump in and help. And then tenacity, as I mentioned, is kind of the people that want to cross the last T, dot the last I, and see projects through to completion. And so essentially you do, as you mentioned, every person can take the assessment. It's on the Working Genius website. It's 10 minutes and $25. It's really easy. You get a full report, and that'll tell you your 2 working geniuses, the areas where you just derive a lot of joy and satisfaction, your 2 working frustrations, which drain you and feel like awful, and then your 2 working competencies are areas that you can work. You might even be very good at them, but after a while, you would feel drained if you're in those working in those areas.
Yeah, does galvanizing, I couldn't remember. Galvanizing is does the order of the competency matter? So if
Yeah,
it's
it is.
GT versus TG.
That's right.
So
That's
yeah,
good.
mine is G is the third one, and
Yeah.
then T is tenacity, or would be the fourth one. And then my
Yeah.
working frustration is discernment and enablement,
Okay.
which
So
I
yeah,
would say,
then
what's that?
and I it's not just galvanizing is not far off for you. You're running a podcast, you're inviting people on, you're inspiring people. So that's definitely the galvanizing genius at play there for sure.
Yeah, it's funny when we did this with our team, we found out we had like 7 people on the team and no one was discernment.
Oh boy.
We were like, "Oh, no. We have no." We
Wow.
just like Chris comes up with ideas, and then, like, the team, like, gets rallies behind it, and then we just start executing, and we're not like, "Wait, was this the right move?" You know?
Right.
Who said that this was a good idea? It's like, no one did. Chris just had an idea, and then we started doing it.
And that's oftentimes what teams realize when their whole team go. Then that's really like I didn't mention that yet, but that's really where you get the most juice. You squeeze the most juice out of this is having the whole team take the assessment, and then you create a team map where you can clearly see where are we strong as a team and where are we lacking. And so that's usually one of the biggest ahas is that like no team's perfect. No team usually covers all of the geniuses perfectly. And
Yeah.
so that's a big realization is like, okay, what are we going to do about that? Do we hire someone with that? Do we bring in a consultant? Does somebody have the discernment competency that we can lean on when we need it? Those are the types
Yeah.
of questions and ahas that
Yeah, I
come up.
think with us, it's funny, in our team, just exactly what you just said, we realized that we had been using our business coach to kind of like kick ideas around, and he never took the test, but we were using him sort of as like, hey, we got a disagreement here, or I got 4 ideas, like, can you help me work through these? But yeah, I completely, like, I feel like with any framework or model, and this applies not only to this type of work assessment or personality assessment or any other assessment. I do think your point of giving language just so that everybody's on the same team. I even feel like I just had a call earlier today with a client that was talking about their marketing reports. And I was like, well, the reality is you have a dozen, maybe probably 100 ways that you could dice up your marketing metrics. The most important thing is that everyone on your team has the same definition of the thing you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at close rate, and you define close rate as one thing, and your sales team is like, "Oh, well, I thought close rates are only the bids I sent, not the ones that got scheduled on my calendar," or, whatever. It all just
Right.
comes back to, are we when we say a word, do we all understand the meaning of that word and how it
Yes.
applies to the scenario that we're
Yeah.
discussing?
Yeah. Makes total sense. And that's a great analogy. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of the working genius. It's the language.
I'm curious with you started doing this kind of organically.
Mhm.
Where was so you listen to this and walk me through, like, because there's a few thoughts I have of, like, what is holding you back? It seems like if you could wave a magic wand, you would just do this. If you could make the money that you could make in this that you are in real estate, like, why that is that the like, that would be amazing? Or is there, like, you kinda like doing it more as a hobby or like a side gig, or tell me about that a little bit.
No, I think that's perceptive. I really do enjoy it. By the way, I'm going to turn my light down just a little. I feel like it's a little bright on my face. Don't want to. We don't want to blind your visitors. There we go. No, I think you're perceptive. I really enjoy doing it. Right, and there's parts of being in real estate. I've been doing real estate almost a decade, and for me, I just love helping people. Like if you just distill it down, I really get the most satisfaction from knowing that some skill or knowledge or experience that I have can help and serve someone else. Like that is what fills me up. But to tie in the working genius, right? Like my frustrations are invention and discernment, right? Essentially like problem solving. And there's all we kind of joke in real estate, like if there were no problems, we wouldn't have a job. Like that's why we real estate agents exist, because it's hard to buy and sell homes. There's so many hurdles that you have to jump through, and it feels like there's always new ones too. And so there are parts of work in real estate that can be really, really frustrating and draining for me. And there's any job's going to have that, right? Like we always say in working genius language, every job is a six-letter job, meaning you cannot avoid completely working in all six areas from time to time. The goal is to maybe spend 75 or 80% of your time in your geniuses. So for me, when I do these consultations with teams, like I essentially get to flex both of my geniuses. We get to do a lot of like by nature, these consultations are sessions of wonder. We're stepping away from the front lines of their work, and we're just spending some time wondering about everyone's geniuses and wondering about how could we be more efficient and effective as a team together? How could we enjoy our work more as a team and individually? And then like also just helping them like overcome specific hurdles and identifying specific areas with their business where I think they could see improvement. And that's where my tenacity comes through as well. So it's almost like somehow I've stumbled onto like what feels like almost a perfect fit for my genius area. And because I know the concept so well, and because I've spent so much time as a small business owner and working with teams, so far, I've never really encountered a problem that I didn't have an answer for already and didn't have the experience. So I don't have to stop and like try to bring a lot of ideas or discernment for these people. I already have the information and the experience. So, yeah, I mean, what's holding me back is just, trying to start a business from scratch, trying to go from like doing this for free organically for some buddies of mine to then starting to get paid for it and then getting an opportunity to go speak at a conference and build my client base that way. It's just and I have two little kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I have a really successful real estate business that I've spent almost 10 years building. So it's not for me, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna flip a switch and go
Yeah.
do this. It's something I have to think strategically through, like what would it look like to begin to build a business around this. And someday I would love to get to do this full time. I think that'd be really rewarding.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like also there's, in my own life, when I look back at the journey that I went on, at times there were moments of applying for a job, not getting it, or getting one and then feeling conflicted or whatever. And it's like there's a plan, like God's got a plan for this whole thing. And like you've already illustrated, you're picking up, tools for your tool belt, in all these different interactions that you're having with people in real estate and whatnot. And so and I know just from talking to you, it's like, yeah, when it's the right time, it'll all work out. And in the meantime, you've got two good things going, and sounds like you're flexing and just strengthening this other muscle while having a good and enjoyable job right now.
Can I tell a quick story too that I think would actually be really cool for this podcast? That it's a total God thing that it really led to where to even us meeting at the conference, right? Because I like essentially last year was a really slow year in real estate, like really, really slow, slowest year I've had in my real estate career. And it was so slow that I began thinking like, what are some other ways that I could earn income, at least in the short term here if this lull continues. And I had been doing these working genius consultations, like I said, for free. So I just one day I was like out working in my yard and I was trying to build this like fire pit with all these bricks and stepping stones. And I ended up finding in my yard, it's like an acre property. I started digging and I found like hundreds of bricks that had been buried in the ground, just slightly under the surface. And God gave me this analogy. It was like, if you are willing to go and dig and look, you never know when you're going to uncover like a gold mine of opportunity and of wealth. So I literally ended up building this whole fire pit and these pathways with all reclaimed materials that I dug up in our yard. And that was right around the same time that my business was slow. And I was like, what if I apply this to the working genius business that I'd like to have? So I literally just started reaching out to all of the past organizations and companies that I had done these consultations for. And one of them was a friend of mine that I had done, that is our mutual friend, they were a paint company in Nashville that I had done a consultation for. And I called them up and they were like, hey, not only do we want to have you come back and pay you this time to, share this with our team because we've grown, but would you come and speak at this conference? We'll pay you to come speak at this conference where you can potentially get in front of hundreds of different companies and share this concept. And that was literally just from me making a phone call and having like the courage and being willing to do a little bit of dirty work to start digging for opportunity. And then like, all of a sudden and I booked another one as well through that process of just reaching out, asking for referrals, asking for introductions.
I got an interesting follow-up question for, and this is the gut reaction is what makes this the best. So I've heard a really good thing to reflect on. There's three questions. I'm going to ask them one at a time. So the first thing is, what fires you up? Just in general, what is something that like it's hard for you to not uh get excited about, passionate about, energized? And that doesn't have to be working genius necessarily, but what is the thing in life that fires you up?
I think it's seeing people like have an aha. Like it doesn't have to be working genius. Sometimes I do this in real estate. I've taught people photography lessons before. Because that's another hobby and passion of mine from the past. It's being able to share from my skill, my knowledge, my experience, and impart that to someone else, and seeing the light bulb go off in their head to where they're like, I get it, and this is going to be immensely beneficial to my life moving forward. Like basically nothing fills me up more than that.
Okay, second question is, what pisses you off or just like grinds your gears, whatever word you want to use. And this again is just like in life, what's the thing that really is just like,
I think injustice, I have a high degree and desire for justice. And whenever I see injustice, uh, like something is just unfair, and just wrong, that really grinds my gears.
and the last one is what breaks your heart?
That's a good one. Divorce and family, like family discord, that and the impact that it has on children. That just that is heartbreaking for me.
Did I tell you at the I feel like it must have been right after because it was on Ash Wednesday that I think that we were chatting. Did I tell you about the guy that I met just in the Uber ride?
I don't think so.
I shared this with like my family and friends, but I haven't told this story publicly. But in Orlando, in the morning, I was trying to get to an Ash Wednesday church service. So I got up early and I had to, get an Uber ride to Celebration, this town outside of Orlando. And there was the closest church that had a time that worked with everything else that was going on at the conference. And so I had booked a ride to go back from the church to the resort after the thing was over. And I look at my phone afterwards and it said the Lyft ride was canceled. I was like, what? So then I like try and book another one and it's like thinking. It's like no drivers found. So I'm like, I'm like stranded. I can't get back to the conference. Like, I don't know what to do. How else do I can't call a taxi or what, like I'm just 20 minutes outside of the resort and I see a guy and he's on his phone just like on the curb looking, I'm like, "Oh, maybe he's getting an Uber." So I was like, "Hey, are you getting an Uber?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm going back to the Gaylord Resort, which wasn't where we were at, but I was like, super random, but can I just get a ride to wherever you're going? Because that'll be closer and there'll probably be more lifts in that area. And he was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So long story short, we're in the car and we're just chatting and he's a sales rep in this tech company. And he just out of nowhere shares that it's been pretty rough in the last like year and a half for him because he got a divorce
Mm,
and, I was like, "Oh, man, that sounds hard, tell me more." And he said that he was married for 21 years. They had 4 kids. They all were like, very like he felt good about what their family life and they were involved in their church and stuff. And I just said to him like, this is, I mean, you brought this up, but I want to be respectful of whether or not you want to share anything else. But I've been married for 11 years. I'm sure 10 years ago, you had no plans of getting a divorce. What advice do you have for someone that's, 10 years younger than where you were? And he said, yeah, I couldn't, I didn't listen to her heart.
mm,
And I was like, I'm not like not quite sure what that means, but I was like praying about it, thinking about that. And then the other thing that he kept saying over was, I just couldn't be present. I just couldn't be present. And he was saying how he was always trying to get the next sales award and just pushing and pushing and pushing. And so I told my wife after this, I was like, this is the most like, when people, I don't know if you've had moments where people are like, yeah, God spoke to me, you know?
sure. Yeah,
I've never had moments like that in my life where I'm like, and I've always wondered like what does that look like, feel like, sound like, whatever. But I told my wife afterwards, I was like, if there was a like I called her and I was like crying on the phone. I was like, do I listen to your heart? I don't even know what that means. Like, but I was, like, terrified, but also, like, incredibly grateful for this, like, very targeted, like, message to me in my life and everything that we had going on in ours and everything, and anyways, I was like, if there was an angel that was, like, needed a backstory and just was gonna, like, pop into my world, deliver a message, and then just, like, vaporize, or whatever. It's like this was all the boxes and all the things were checked for just, like, a cool, like, backstory, and the timing of everything and how it worked out, it was just, like, a huge, huge blessing, and so, anyways, the reason I'm like, why did I bring this up? Oh, you're mentioning divorce, and, yeah, this guy said, "I couldn't be present, and I failed to listen to her heart," and I was just like, and this is coming from a guy who was like a good solid Christian that was going to church every week. His family was involved in the church and just like, he underneath all that, there was this turmoil that was not being addressed.
thanks for sharing.
Don't know what that has to do with working genius, but
Hey, man, I think that, the Lord can work in mysterious ways, but I think he often speaks through other people. Not everybody gets to see a handwriting on a wall or hear a voice from heaven, but I think God very clearly works through other people. So good
yeah,
for you for listening and thanks for sharing because any married person needs to hear that, especially any married man to
yeah.
listen to your heart.
We were talking about this a little bit. I'm curious how with AI, can you kind of recap your perspective or your I'm trying to remember exactly. I remember the conversation that we had, and there was
Yeah.
2 very interesting angles that we were coming from.
Yep.
But where do you fall in the world of, like, trying to incorporate technology,
Hmm.
AI, whatever, into your work? How are
Yeah.
you intentionally choosing to use it or not use it for
Yeah.
a greater purpose?
Yeah, it's a timely question, of course, because I feel like AI is just exploding in terms of our cultures embracing and implementing it. And I feel like I hear more and more and more about it every day. And I mean, even a year ago, even 6 months ago, I don't think that was the case. So it's astonishing, I would say, the rate of acceptance and implementation that I'm experiencing just in day-to-day conversations with people, whether that's clients or teammates or even just somebody interviewing me on a podcast. Everybody's talking about it. And so I would say in general with technology, I tend to be a late adopter. Again, careful implementer, right? So that's like for me, I am generally like change averse and risk averse, and I overthink things, right? And so with technology in general, I've tended to be a late adopter. And it's only after like seeing most people implement it, and the early adopters are going to figure out all the problems and fall on their face, and I'm not going to do that. But even I kind of like want to see how the masses respond to, and like, is this going to actually stick? Is this just a flash in the pan? Is this like the next I don't know, fidget spinner? I saw a kid playing with a fidget spinner the other day. Like those were going to, that was like a flash in the pan, and then those have been gone for years. I was like, how do you still have one of those? But, so I'm just very skeptical by nature and with technology of any kind. But I would say, like, the more that I see, people, like, rushing to embrace it, the more skeptical I am of it just by nature. Another example would be, like, Bitcoin, like 3 or 4 years ago, like, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was raving about it, and it's like, "Okay, now the dust is settled, like, how'd that work out?" Like, and so man, with AI especially, I feel like there's so many implications. There's so many questions to ask about it that most people I think are not asking. And this is what I remember you and I talking about. There's an author named Andy Crouch, who's a deep thinker, believer. He wrote a book called The Life We're Looking For, Reclaiming Relationship in a Technological World. And that book I embraced, his writings in that book, and he wrote it maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now, kind of before AI was really burgeoning the way it is now. So I'd be curious to kind of hear. Actually, I have heard some of his perspective on it more recently, and it's again, here's what it boils down to: it's a tool. It's like any technology. It is a tool. So how we use it and how we think about it makes all the difference in the world. And so up to now, I really have not used it at all. In fact, I've intentionally not gone to Chat GPT or Claude or some of these other ones and really like opened Pandora's box and started engaging with AI on purpose. Cause I'm just like, and I don't feel the need for it right now as a real estate agent. I don't see my peers really embracing it and using it in any kind of like helpful way. The main application in real estate right now is people use AI to write their description for their listings. And I actually think they're hurting themselves because every listing description using AI sounds exactly the same, which to my understanding, that's basically what AI does. It finds like the middle ground and the norm. And so like when you're trying to market a home, I think the last thing you want to do is sound just like everybody else. So I've like intentionally been handwriting, even though I don't like to write, I handwrite my listing descriptions myself just to be different, just to like zig when everyone else is zagging. And and I have a full-time virtual assistant that assists me. She's based in the Philippines and she's a real person. She's lovely. Her name is Grace. She's been with me 5 years, and she basically does all the things that I think other people are using AI to do as far as like workflow and tasks and things like that. But she's lovely and she's a real person, and we have conversations, and she's part of my team, and she supports her family with her income. So I'm like, I don't want to just drop her and use AI to replace her, even if it would save me money. So anyways, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about this. Again, as a late adopter, I'm just kind of like my head's in the sand a little bit, and I'm like waiting to see kind of how it all shakes out. But last thing I'll say is that couple of my team members are the opposite. They have jumped into the deep end. Every day they're talking about AI and AI agents and using AI for marketing, this, that, and the other. And so I'm trying to like, I guess, be curious and ask questions like, hey guys, how do you think I could be using it in my day-to-day workflow? So I'm just starting to dip my toes in it a little bit and trying to stay curious and not like make judgments about people who use it and where it might be taking our culture and our society and all that stuff.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, I would say for work, yeah, like obviously, it can be used in everything, but I would say as a dad, something that I've gotten a ton of joy out of with my kids is we've been writing songs with AI. Have you heard of Suno? So it's a platform that basically makes these full blown well, they sound amazing. I'm not a musician, so like I would have no ability to play the piano or anything because my skills are not musical skills, but I have inspiration and ideas and things. And one of the songs I made actually was after that story or that thing that I just shared about Orlando. I wrote a song with, like, prompting and, like, basically I told the whole story to Claude and then had it, like, ask me some more questions about it and then wrote some lyrics. I edited the lyrics a little bit and then was like, "I want this to be sort of a modern, like, folk, not like country, but just like I was trying to describe exactly the style of music that I wanted, and then it, like, iterated through several different, like, beats and whatnot and different versions of it. But I have this song now, and I was sharing it with my 8-year-old daughter and told her the story and then listened to this song, and, and then for my kids, like, it's just a really interesting experiment, I think, to allow your kids to like craft what they're passionate about, or you even inject like the things that you see that you want to call out of them. So I don't know if you've heard of in parenting or like in childhood development direct definition. It's this idea of like when you label someone like I remember growing up in grade school, my dad would tell me, "Chris, you're taller than everybody, so you're naturally going to be a leader. Like you are like people are going to look up to you, like they just automatically will, and you can choose to be a leader that leads people to good things, or you can be a leader that leads people to bad things." And he just told me that, and I don't know how often he told me that, but I remember hearing that, and I feel like it's things like that where it's like in reality, is there any science that backs what he said? It doesn't matter. What the science does say is that what you tell your kids over and over again does have an impact on who they become. He could have said, "Chris, you're tall and tall people are losers," right? Like they whatever. And I'm just like, "Oh, I guess no one's going to listen to me or value me or whatever." But I feel like the ability to write songs that like instead of listening to just the generic Disney garbage or whatever that the kids would normally want to listen to, you can actually write songs that have like meaningful either scripture or things that from my kids that they're passionate about. And then they're starting to sing these songs that are like planting positive thoughts in their head. So anyways, that's a dad activity that depending on the age of your kids.
We're a musical fan. My wife's very musically talented, and I kinda dabble with it, and so, like, we just make up songs as a family.
There you go.
I get where you're coming from. I think that the application is, like, it can introduce, like, moments of joy and alternative to, like, other technologies that are already out there, screens and YouTube and stuff like that. So, that's really cool. It's a great suggestion.
So if someone is driving home right now and they're listening, like, okay, this is interesting. I definitely need to sort of circling back to the topic that we started with, the working genius. What is like how would you suggest that someone dabbles or goes deeper into this topic? Obviously they can connect with you, but what's some like homework that you would say, go check out this, go read this book. If you're still interested, come talk to me.
Yeah, the first step, take the assessment and get the report, right? They'll give you like I think it's like an 8-page report now. And like I said, it takes 10 minutes, it's $25, and it is so worth it. Even if you're a solopreneur, even if you work on your own, or if you work with a big company and you don't know if your team will ever embrace the concept, like you will learn so much about yourself and how to enjoy your job more and have less frustration in your work. Guaranteed. And oh, by the way, this is a great concept for marriage too. So if anyone's married, like have both spouses take the assessment. My wife and I have done it. We talk about it all the time, and it really helps us in our marriage. So step one, take the assessment, get the report. Step two, read the book. The book, Patrick Lencioni is a very easy to read author. All of his books are essentially written as novels, but he weaves the concept into the story, and they're quick and easy to read and easy to grasp. I loved the book. Everyone I've ever talked to that's read it loved it. So that would be another step. And then if you run a team or you're on a team, like encourage your whole team to take the assessment and then create the team map, which you can easily do from their website. Once everybody on the team has taken the assessment, you click a button, it generates your team map. And there's some collateral, there's some like resources on the website that teach you how to interpret your team map. That's really where like a consultant like me comes in, is if you really want to get the most out of it for your team, you can hire me or someone like me to come in and like teach the concept and walk you through the team map and help you identify, okay, where do we need to restructure people's roles and responsibilities? How can we get healthier as a team and really embrace this concept to do more work and better work together and enjoy it more? So I think that's like, good, better, best, right? It's like take the assessment, read the book, do a team map, and then hire a consultant if you really want to like go deep with it.
That's awesome. Um, Speaking of books, we'll head into our wrap up questions here. What are the 3 books that you would recommend to the audience?
Well, I mentioned one of them already, The Life We're Looking For by Andy Crouch. Just incredible. When you think about technology in general and just how our world has so radically changed and continues to radically change up to and including AI and the rapid implementation of it. I just think, and it's written from the perspective of Andy as a follower of Christ and a believer, and so that really resonated with me. But even if you're like, man, all that stuff's hocus pocus, I still think you would get so much out of his insights on reclaiming relationships, the life that we're really looking for in the midst of this technological isolated world we live in. So that's a huge must. My bookshelf is back here. The Wing Feather Saga. It's a series of 4 books, but it's by Andrew Peterson, and they're fictional novels, and they're incredible. So especially if you have kids, your kids will love them. But I have read them all, I think 3 or 4 times through. Absolutely, some of my favorite books out there. Whimsical, creative, but deep, like just spiritual undertones as well, and just like good versus evil. Mm. And then let's see, my shelf is right here. I'll go with one other like deep book that's been life changing for me is a book by John Mark Comer, and it's called Live No Lies. And it's essentially like recognizing that, again, as followers of Christ, recognizing that our enemy, the devil, his language is lies and deceit, and how often we don't even realize we're living out lies and living out areas where we've been completely deceived, and literally in our physical bodies living them out and believing that they're true, and just like beginning to unpack how you're living and recognizing, are you living your life based on truth, the truth of scripture, or are you living your life, at least in certain areas, based on lies? Oh my goodness. Just for me, a very radical book that changed the way I think about the decisions I make and the habits that I have and the things that I give my time and attention to.
I was going to say, why does that name sound familiar? But he's the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry
That's right. That
author.
was his big book, but then he wrote Live No Lies after that, and it kind of piggybacks off of The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which I also have on my shelf here.
That's awesome. Any movie or show suggestion for the audience?
Yes. So we don't actually, in our family, we don't watch a lot of movies or shows. We have 2 little girls, and they have their shows that they like. But on Disney Plus, there is a guy named Bertie Gregory, and he's like a outdoorsman, kind of a little bit like National Geographic. I think it's actually as part of the National Geographic like package within Disney Plus. But he just is like outdoor adventurer and photographer and videographer. And his outdoor, like he does underwater stuff, he does on land stuff, and he just has a very fun loving personality, but he's like wicked smart about animals, all things animals, basically. So I think one series he has is called Animals Up Close. And I just
Mm,
like eat that stuff up. I wish he would film more shows because I would watch them all.
that's awesome. I'm going to have to mark this one. He's like, it looks just from skimming really quick. He looks kind of like the next crocodile.
But he's not as kooky as the Crocodile Hunter was.
Right.
He's a
More
little.
intellectual.
Yes, and then not as a slight. I love the Crocodile Hunter, but like, yeah, definitely more intellectual. And he has a lovely, I think, British accent, and that doesn't hurt. I love the accent.
The British and I mean Australian and British, it's the classic American. They just sound so much more intriguing, you know? Just like they got to know, they have to know more than me with the way they're saying it. That's awesome. And if someone wants to get in touch with you to chat more about this or other stuff, what's your preferred method that they reach out?
Man, it seems like everybody's on the gram, so you can DM me on Instagram at Kevin Scott Banks is my Instagram. That's probably just the easiest way for people who pick up their phone and need to talk to me, want to talk to me.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, this was very fun. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and passion. And yeah, I look forward to staying in contact and seeing what else God has in store for you. So, yeah, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, likewise, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes, the movie list, you can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show. And also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.